All right, we're doing all this quarterback talk. I mean, we got to get into it. The latest on Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
The news broke. I was baffled. Full story on this one. So I'm basically out. I was out at a shoot when this news came out, and just see a text: Bryce Young benched. 2 weeks in, it's never happened for a number 1 overall pick to be benched in year 2 after starting week 1 by week 2. Like, this has never happened before. The Bryce Young that we saw in Alabama, what's astonishing with this one, Sean, is we saw him light up SEC defenses. We saw him win big games. We saw his IQ and his accuracy shine. And there were moments in his rookie season, but we saw him just look lost through 2 games his sophomore season. And when a guy is 5'10", 200 pounds, so an outlier physically, doesn't have a great arm, isn't crazy athletic, isn't crazy accurate, where you could think of, well, Kyler's 5'10", great arm, insanely athletic. Well, Drew Brees is undersized, really accurate, one of the most accurate passers ever, and he was 6 foot. Russell Wilson, 6 foot, bigger build, can take hits better, and again, more athletic. For him to get benched like this, especially when you bring in Dave Canales, who's supposed to be and is a QB whisperer. Look at Geno Smith in 2022. Look at Baker Mayfield in 2023. For Dave Canales, and it sounds like it was his call to make this, it's something where he was seeing throughout all of training camp that it only took him 2 weeks in the regular season to pull the plug. I'm just astonished to win this bad, this fast. But his situation was not the best for a rookie quarterback, especially one that's a physical outlier as undersized as Bryce Young is.
Yeah, I mean, and I looked it up. He took 62 sacks last year. Carolina had the 27th. They were ranked 27th in pass block grade last year. So just took way too many hits, kind of almost like stopped looking downfield, started feeling the rush, kind of got into that sort of mode, more or less. And it's just, I guess it is a little surprising, but the fact that, the Panthers are now better up front. At this point, they're like top 5 in terms of pass blocking. Yeah,
they invested in Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis in the offseason. Yep. Their guards are good. Their left tackle, it took them a few years to come along, but their offensive, like, that was it. Watching the Saints game and watching his week 2 game too, like, it was clean pockets that he was working with, and he's seeing ghosts. It's what broke Sam Darnold. With time and a clean pocket that he's supposed to step up into, he would rather bail to his left and he would walk into a sack. That's what was crazy.
I was going to say, and that's kind of like the most noteworthy part about his regression this year is that they're really not bad up front. And they have Adam Thielen. They traded for Deontay Johnson. They drafted Xavier Legette. So they have guys around him too. I believe it's Miles Sanders, right? He's a starting running back there.
Yeah, so, Miles Sanders still there. They drafted a Jonathan Brooks. Like, they have bodies. They have
exactly.
skill.
They have skill players, and they have a line up front. So,
and they have this scheme in Dave Canales.
Yep. So to see him take such steps backwards this year, I don't. It's really just eye catching.
It's over the last 2 seasons, quarterbacks with at least 10 starts, he ranked 29th out of 30 in total QBR, 30th in completion percentage, 30th in yards per attempt. Like, it is bad. And it sucks to see because that was a guy who was exciting to watch. A lot of people had high hope about him, obviously being a number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
And this is a Carolina team that traded their 2023 and 2024 first-round picks, their second-rounders in 23 and 25, and DJ Moore to move up to number 1 to get Bryce Young. To bench him this fast, I know the front office. This isn't the front office. This isn't Scott Fitterer. These aren't the guys that drafted him. This isn't the head coach that drafted him. But to bail on it this fast, and Dave Canales with absolute vindication making this decision and owning it, that shows there's a buy-in. And you don't have to be a quarterback whisperer or a huge fan of the NFL. Just watch Bryce Young and you see someone that has no confidence in the pocket, doesn't want to be there, and is looking for the quickest out. And Sean, I think the biggest thing too, like, we can go all day talking about this. This is why I say take your time with Drake Maye.
Without a doubt.
You mentioned it. Bryce Young was sacked 62 times his rookie season. He's been sacked 6 times so far this season. His last loss, their loss to the Chargers, not a single sack was credited to his offensive line. It was on him. It was on him, Bryce Young. If Drake Maye regresses and he turns into a quarterback that is first read or go, or just bolt as quick as possible, or starts seeing ghosts, that's what you get. That's when he becomes a Malik Willis or a Bryce Young or a Sam Darnold. And when you pick Drake Maye, you do not draft Drake Maye to win games in 2024 in year one. Mm-hmm. You draft Drake Maye for him to be your quarterback 8, 10, 15 years down the line.
Yeah, and we just talked so much about the offensive line in front of Bryce Young as a rookie. It would be more or less the exact same thing if Drake Maye was playing right now. I mean, the Patriots rank exactly where the Panthers did last year when it comes to, those advanced stats in terms of the offensive line. So it is like, it's difficult from, we're sitting in New England, we're, covering the Patriots and everything like that. It's difficult to hear this news and not think about Drake Maye. And it serves as that cautionary tale. This is why the Patriots brought in a veteran. This is why they've went through the process like they have. And it's because they don't want this, top draft pick to turn out, similar to Bryce Young at this point. And it has everything to do with the situation around him. Bryce Young's situation now is fine, but it wasn't last year. I mean, he was playing behind a terrible offensive line. He didn't have the same, he didn't have Deontay Johnson. He didn't have Xavier Legette, so the Carolina has done such, they've made pretty big strides, I guess, in terms of what's around him this year. And he didn't have that last year. And so we're kind of in a similar spot right now with Drake Maye that he doesn't have all that. He doesn't have a great offensive line. Maybe it'll be better next year. Yeah. Hopefully it will be better next year. You go out, you draft a franchise left tackle and, bring in another pass catcher or something like that. So at this point, it's like, it just serves as such a reminder, I think, to the Patriots and Patriots fans, this is why we're going about this the way we are.
And what's important too is that when you're looking downfield, if you have a rookie quarterback, you need to be in the NFL. You need to be able to throw guys open and make anticipatory throws. But you also need your receivers to get separation. That is something that is so important. And Jalen Polk can become that guy, especially over the middle, which is where Drake Maye loves to throw the football and the intermediate to deep over the middle of the field. And that's what it's all about of being an NFL quarterback, is throwing between the hash marks. But if they're not getting separation downfield and they're not blocking for you, it's going to be panic and scramble mode all the time. I know at times Jacoby Brissett holds on to the ball too long, but at times he's made plays with his legs. But Drake Maye, what his upside is his athleticism. It's his arm. It's him as an actual quarterback. You cleaned up the feet. You fixed him. From a guy that would be standing straight up, have a really small base, and then have to reload everything to make a throw. No. In the NFL, it's all about timing. It's 1, 2, 3, hitch, go. It's 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 5, hitch, throw. It's not a stand straight up. You're going to have time to squat back down, get your base wide, and let it rip. The progress they made with Drake Maye is so important. Mm-hmm. You can't let it regress because you don't have receivers that can get open, and you don't have an offensive line that can block for him. Going through, I put this together. I was just curious one night, and I was looking up the age of, I was looking at top 3 picks that are 22 or younger when making their first start, right? Caleb Williams is going to turn 23 in November. Jaden Daniels is 23. Drake Maye is 22 right now. In 2023, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, 1-2. We're 22. Bryce Young was making his first start. CJ Stroud's 21. Bryce Young, I don't see him bouncing back from this, Sean. You could put him as a bust. Trevor Lawrence, 22. Zach Wilson, 22. 1-2 pick. Then Trey Lance, 3rd. Wilson Lance, bust. Joe Burrow worked out at 1. Tua's picked 5th overall. He's not a bust because of his ability. We don't know what he's going to be, and we don't know what his future is. Herbert was taken 6th overall, 22 making his first start, but had 44 games played in college under his belt. Then you go into the Bakers. Didn't work out with the Browns. Even after winning a playoff game, they said, we want Deshaun Watson. That's their fault. Darnold, 2018, bust, 3rd overall pick. Trubisky, 2017, number 2 overall pick. 23 making his first start, bust. Jared Goff, a bust for the Rams. Carson Wentz, a bust for the Eagles. But he was an MVP before he tore his ACL. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, bust. I cut myself off at 2015 for my sanity. You have a Drake Maye with 30 games played under his belt in college, would be 22 making his first NFL start. Caleb Williams, 37 games played. Jaden Daniels, 55 games played. CJ Stroud, 25 games played. Again, he is an anomaly. He's an exception. Trevor Lawrence, 40 games played. He worked out. Joe Burrow, 28 games played. So less experience than Drake Maye, but came in more refined as a prospect than Drake Maye. And we know Joe Burrow struggled. He wasn't great his first year in LSU, that second year, but also with Justin Jefferson, with Jamar Chase, with all that NFL talent. And say what you want, Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Trevor Lawrence, now with Brian Thomas Jr., with BTJ, Sean, they bring him in, they give him these weapons. It's situation. You need blockers, you need receivers that can get open. The Panthers tried to get that for Bryce Young, but Bryce Young was broken by the time they finally got the support he needed. That's what stands out to me with this, and that's not what you want to happen with Drake Maye.
Yeah, you got a lot of time on your hands, George.
It was one night, bro. Probably poured myself a glass of Johnny Walker Black, too. It was probably like an off day, but we love ball. That's why we host
right.
Foxboro Rush.